Today, we're talking about the magic of alt season. Welcome, because this is going to be one of the most important videos that we do here on this channel over the next few months, because I believe that alt season is going to play out in this magnificent way. Now, I'm going to be giving you my playbook, how I'm going to walk through this entire very critical moment, which many storybook gains have been based on essentially the potential that most people feel towards their crypto investments is realized here in the tail end of the bull run in Q4 of the year after the halving. The importance of this moment to many people's overall success in the industry cannot be overstated, because it is during alt season that we often see an incredible amount of liquidity exit the biggest boat in the entire industry, which is Bitcoin, and pour like a waterfall into the lower cap currencies, sending them astronomically higher. And of course, the question is, which ones are those going to be? How can you best optimize for it? Obviously, these are my strategies, not financial advice. I'm going to be covering a litany of coins that I think have a tremendous amount of potential, coins that I most of the time am holding, because of course, I think they have potential. And I'm going to be giving you my playbook step by step. If you guys are excited for that, smash that like button, because I genuinely believe that those who play their cards right during these next few months will make up for years, maybe decades of complete mismanaged financial moves. That's my belief, my personal opinion, that this is the moment. This is your Woodstock. And it is so critical. It is so critical that you know what is going on here. I'm going to hop into the comment section for just a second here. Get a few comments going and shout out all the people who have been supporting the channel. The energy on the channel and in this community over the last several weeks has been absolutely incredible. So I just want to thank everybody. It really feels like we have built something truly special here. I see people talking about DeFi 2.0 with ICE, as well as, of course, Spell. We're going to be talking about magic internet money, Spell, DeFi, all the different parts of the industry that can present, in my opinion, astronomical asymmetrical returns. But all we got to do together to really get this party kicked off properly is destroy that like button. I see thousands of people in the house, and it would be really nice to see thousands of likes here. So please hit those like buttons, and we will get started. I'm trying to find one more tweet. Here we go. I'm trying to find one more tweet here because it was really important to me as we start this off. I'm going to slide this in here. And we're about to get started. Once we hit here, let me go ahead here. And sometimes the comments in YouTube, they show up better than the comments on my streaming software. So that's something I sometimes have to have a couple of windows open to do this properly. Wow. Okay. The comments are really running in here. What do I think about MetaHero? I'll talk about MetaHero in a bit. What do I think about... there's a lot of like individual project questions. I will be getting to those in just a second. Moon River, all of the individual project questions. Hope I liked my Space Punk honorary. I loved my Space Punk honorary. Absolutely loved it. There's 888 likes here. That is a holy spiritual number symbolizing peace and unity and prosperity here in the cosmos. And that is a beautiful thing. Let's go ahead and make sure that that reaches as many viewers as we have in here. Show me you like the content. Just hit that little thumb. That's all I ask of you. All right. I will talk a little bit about larger caps. We have a question from Jonathan. Can you talk a little bit about larger caps, i.e. Matic, Link, Dot, etc.? Heard a lot about 10Xs, but want to know what the big caps can do. Yeah, I will talk about that during alt season as well. And I'll tell you what I think are realistic expectations for each category of coin, and what a blow off top or what a sort of parabolic move for them in the end of Q4 would look like. And I'm going to outline for you the golden laws that if you do not follow these laws, you will most likely be left out, omitted from Valhalla here if you do not follow these, because you will end up essentially getting emotional. And we're going to talk a lot about emotions and how they're going to play in at the end throughout this video. All right, we got about 2,300 of you. Once I see some more likes, I'm going to jump into the content. Big shout out to everyone who's been liking, following. I believe this episode is going to be absolutely jam-packed with value. So shout out to everyone in the room right now. Shout out to Space Punks for the honorary. No freaking top. Yep. And I will jump in. Guys, if you super chat me and you just chill some random project, probably not going to talk about it. Don't take that personally, please. All right. So here we are in the markets right now. Bitcoin sitting at 57,000. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. But as you can see, what we really need to be paying attention to is this. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. This is the chart that tells us how Bitcoin is interacting and playing along with the rest of the market. Now, to be honest, at a certain level, you have to think that Bitcoin dominance is a bit of an outdated statistic. Why? Because the reality is that anyone who creates a new coin, well, this gets now measured against Bitcoin's dominance. And so you have Bitcoin being measured against a sort of ever inflating infinite supply of value. And that's not really fair. But that said, and that's why, in my opinion, Bitcoin dominance will, over the long term trend towards zero, because more and more cryptocurrencies are launched all the time and their values will eventually come to represent a bigger portion of the pie. Now, that said, when Bitcoin does make moves like what we're seeing today or over the last sort of week or so, which might not look like much on that chart, but when we zoom out, we see a nice little uptrend here on Bitcoin dominance. And it is very, very reminiscent of what we've seen before during late stages of the bull run. Now, it is very good, extremely, extremely healthy for Bitcoin to be regaining dominance before we see a complete and utter abomination destruction of Bitcoin dominance. That is how we know. The reason is that money flows like this. Money flows into Bitcoin first, then altcoins, and now it's feeling like the actual lowest cap or latest chapter is NFTs. And we're going to be talking about this flow of funds and flow of attention within the ecosystem throughout most of today's episode. So understand that if Bitcoin doesn't happen, these next two phases don't happen nearly as excitingly, right? I do believe over time NFTs decouple and we get a winter wonderland for NFTs. It's a different topic. What I'm talking about is right now in Q4 of 2021, we are still very deeply connected, very this is the way the market works, right? Which is we have Bitcoin dominance rises, and this happened throughout the late stages of 2017. This was the great Bitcoin bull run that took us from, I believe Bitcoin was about $2,000 here. When it had its final correction here in June, it dropped down to about 2K after it had reached about 3K. And then it zoomed up here to 20K. And then it peaked right here in the second week. I think it was the 17th of December. It peaks. And then we get this glorious alt season, which then actually was kind of short and sweet, right? By the end of January, we see Bitcoin resuming its uptrend in dominance. And that lasted really until it peaked here at the end of 2019. So here's how it's worked in the past, which is you get these buildups of Bitcoin dominance and then collapses, right, when altcoins go on a run. And that's because all this liquidity in Bitcoin, all this new money in the system pours into altcoins. But many of the altcoins that are going to explode with gains, those will be coins that just as quickly recede with losses. So that's what happens is a lot of money dumps into these altcoins as the kind of last act of the bull run. And then those gains by the smart money get pulled right out of the market, and most likely they'll go into stable coins. And so let me explain how this is going to work to you. And so this is happening once again. And when it happens, and as it happens, as we're seeing here in this is actually a different chart. It's this chart here. So what do we see here? This is, again, just the Bitcoin dominance, right? As you can see here, we have this moment here. And that's what we're looking forward to for the correlation right now is we have Bitcoin dominance from 2017 that had this massive collapse down. Let me actually fix the chart so it's like very, very comparable here. We see that this is how their chart is set up in this Twitter image. We see that there's the huge buildup here and then a massive collapse that's in the green box area. That's exactly this collapse that they're referring to here. Now, this is looking very similar. This little consolidation period with a regaining of Bitcoin strength in the late stage of the bull run is a perfect comparison here to what's happening right now. And so seeing Bitcoin gain some strength and suck the liquidity out of the altcoins, seeing people jump into that big Bitcoin boat is a very important predecessor, a very important factor to have occurring right before you get a massive alt season. And so until proven otherwise, until we see a super cycle where Bitcoin just continues to suck all the liquidity out of the altcoins and go onwards and upwards and everyone loses faith in the altcoins, I don't actually feel like that's the world we're in. But what I do feel the world we're in is history more or less rhyming here, with Bitcoin regaining a ton of strength and then a massive alt season ensuing once the big sort of real seasoned OG whales go, yep, I think this is it. I think the old man has done all he can do this halving, and let's just see what's going on. Let's just dump our money into the next hot altcoins to multiply these gains, which is why we'll start to see L1s and top altcoins, top other Ethereum killers, Ethereum itself, as well as major DeFi projects and NFT ecosystems, and of course, play to earn gaming and stuff like that. We're going to get into all those in a second. But what I wanted to point out is this, which is that in just 8 days, we will see that if Bitcoin continues to grow, that it will now have been a longer cycle, a lengthened cycle. Sorry, wrong hand, longer cycle. So this is a conversation ongoing that I've been having with Benjamin Cowan, as well as several other people in the industry. I absolutely love Benjamin's takes, mostly because they're incredibly bullish. And the more he's right, the more money we're probably going to make. Smash like if you love a correct and bullish take, which means that our bags get sent. Gotta love it. So what Ben is saying here is that in a few days, we will see that if Bitcoin continues to grow and hasn't hit its peak of the cycle yet, then in 8 days, we'll have confirmation that the data says we've had a longer cycle than prior cycles. Now, is it going to be within a margin of error? Is Bitcoin going to peak just for a few days after that? That's not really what I'm feeling. That's not what I think is going to happen. So what it does feel like is there's a combination of things happening here. One is that we're regaining strength on Bitcoin and setting up a massive alt season. But as you can see, this could happen over the coming weeks, days, or months. Maybe it happens over several quarters. There's no hard and fast rules here for exactly when this happens. Now, I have been saying I'm trying to get liquid at the end of October to really get into these altcoins to ride this alt season. And what you'll know here is that if Bitcoin dominance chugs up so much that it very well might be the case that a lot of altcoins sag in price. But you can think of that like a slingshot being pulled back and pulled back and pulled back, because at a certain point, this is how the ecosystem works, is that the money that jumps into these Bitcoin rallies is going to take profits into altcoins, especially during this massive bull run. And it's first and foremost going to go into Ethereum, right? That's where it goes first. And then after Ethereum, we send all things, right? So what we need to see here is two observations. One is that if the cycles start lengthening, the time expectation for exactly when this happens might adjust. But you need to understand that otherwise, we should be reaching a cycle maturity within the next few weeks. However, if we are right that cycles are slowing down, lengthening, and most likely growing to even greater degrees over the course of the cycle, then what we should expect here is for this blue line to continue and peak maybe out here somewhere. And then that would mean that we would get an amazing growth out of the cycle. And it probably might, very well might take several more months, which is actually not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing at all. Lengthening cycles with less downside and more opportunities to get in, less aggressive collapses and more long-term steady growth is the key, is the recipe for crypto truly going mainstream and keeping all these users. Because the crashes that get people wrecked, those are the things that end up squandering all these new millions of people who flood into crypto. They get wrecked, they get upset. Their families say, you're never putting money in that again. Their wives go and grab them by the ear. And those people are no longer active participants, right? And so it's a very, very negative cycle when people get wrecked, right? So this is how I see the world. I'm going to go through a little bit of news updates, and then we're going to hop into coin-specific talk in a second. So first of all, I wanted to go over this. This is a daily update put together by a very intelligent member of the EllioTrades team, Oliver. And so, he says here, look, if you're looking for excitement in the markets, it's not really there. However, what we do see is Bitcoin continuing to grow steadily. We also see OHM and SHIB. Now, we're going to talk about OHM down south a bit in this article. Obviously, we've talked about SHIB a bit and what that means as far as a proxy to the sort of meme coin revolution here, the meme coin fan base, and that meaning in general that we have more retail FOMO. the more we have these dog coins pump, the more you can see that there are less ultra serious participants and more probably retail FOMO, the TikTokers, the young people. And this is something that people were very upset about in the beginning of the year. And I think people have just made peace with this. I know I have made peace with this. I mean, hey, I've made millions of dollars trading pictures of cats and stuff. So how can I be mad at someone trading a dog coin, right? Anyway, so what we need to be aware of is that Bitcoin is approaching some strong overhead resistance, and it has been doing really, really well. Obviously, if you guys want some really in-depth TA, I highly encourage you to check out the morning segments with Crown. Let me know, guys, how are you guys liking those morning segments with Crown? I'm really, really excited to have a TA expert on this channel as a sort of a permanent installment, because it's an area that's certainly not my expertise. And I don't like to talk about things that are outside of my area of expertise. I only want to give you the absolute best information. And that's why I think Crown is, in my opinion, one of the most successful proven traders. He's a great resource for short-term price analysis. So knowing that the overhead resistance is there and that a short-term wash down to the low 50,000s is totally in the cards, as well as another breakout is also being printed here into the $70,000 or $80,000 range. These are a good combination of events, because if you know that there's a wash coming and you also know that there's a breakout coming, then you can see that as an opportunity. Just like I've been hitting you over the head with every single time, saying, hey, look, the price is most likely going to come down a bit in the short term. And that is on its way to massive green bullish, not red flags, green bull flags, because we see the potential for an ETF. We see the potential for just a Q4 end of bull run, massive hype wave. And then you add on some regulatory clarity and you get this massive, massive explosive blow off top. So this is a really, really big deal, but know that there are resistances and that this is just how generous crypto is, because every time the price of Bitcoin collapses 10%, a lot of altcoins will collapse 20, 30%, huge opportunities there. And like we said, step by step, we're seeing mainstream adoption, but oftentimes it's super easy to forget. It's super easy to forget why we do this. And that's why we've seen just recently videos of Lebanon where citizens just found out that their entire savings had been completely frozen and was no longer available to them. You have an entire nation here of people whose banks just shut them out without warning. And obviously, there have been big warning signs about the Lebanese economy over the last few years, but this is why Bitcoin is so important. And this is why Bitcoin will be adopted around the world by many countries, because even though, you know, banks are fairly reliable in the United States, the reality is that as recently as 2008, we had a banking crisis where people were wondering about the security of their money in the banks, right? We now see that people around the world are losing access to their money because of the banking system. Bitcoin does fix this, and this is why it's going to spread like a virus. And it's very, very, very clear to see that this is going to be the next steps here. We also see that it's really interesting to see publications like Reuters covering real adoption stories for crypto. This is a brand new trend, a brand new phenomenon that these mainstream financial outlets are actually covering crypto in an even-handed light. Instead of just trying to cover all the negative aspects, here we see stories about Afghans using crypto to essentially get out of the country, protect their finances, move to another jurisdiction, and still have access to their wealth. And you can see here that in places where there's been complete breakdowns and failures of the banking system, crypto is a life preserver. It's a lifeboat, and it can actually save people. And so this is the beauty of crypto. This is what we are all fighting for, is a system where it cannot be gamed and controlled by humans, but it is controlled by code. It is a beautiful thing. There's a tweet here that we see from Mike McGlone. Mike's an old friend of the channel here, and he's the lead analyst of cryptocurrencies and precious metals at Bloomberg. And he says, relative to rising U.S. debt and tensions over the political default, Bitcoin may enter a unique phase for fourth quarter price rise as markets gain trust in coding that defines crypto's supply. The debt ceiling drama may work against the managers that avoid allocations to Bitcoin. So what is he saying? The TLDR here is all of these shenanigans are just showing and pulling back the mask, pulling back the veil as to how inefficient and how unprepared the United States or the traditional mainstream monetary systems and government systems are. compared to the code-driven, predictable, reliable, uncorruptible systems of blockchain and Bitcoin in specific. It's a beautiful thing. We also see that the IMF now is in the news here, and there are cracks showing in the legacy institutions. We see here somebody says, Google search of the day, IMF scandals, lots of material. I'm not going to go through all that. You guys can go and have fun with that on your own. Now, let's talk about one specific little deep dive topic before we move back into altcoin strategy, alt season strategy, and I give you my playbook here, which you're going to love. We see here the rising DeFi Olymp or OHM's impressive growth. It's Olympus style. So once again, crypto has proven that ignored and underestimated projects can perform incredibly well. We have OHM here, you can see making its way above Maker, Rune, Sushi, and Compound. Absolutely incredible. OHM just became the #4 DeFi project by circulating market cap at $3 billion under a year of work. This sort of explosive growth is simply inconceivable in the traditional tech finance world due to developer and user friction. If you need a short primer on what Olympus and OHM actually are, well, this is the way most people can describe it, other than a cool Ponzi. Imagine a pseudo bank that pays early depositors interest based on how much each successive depositor puts in at a decreasing rate until it has enough money to function as a typical bank. So Ponzi until it's not, I guess. I've always sort of seen the Olympus model as fairly Ponzi-ish, right? That said, what are the reasons for OHM's success? As a Twitter user Pluto puts it, it works because of incentive alignment for users, founders, everyone benefits, also top-notch growth marketing and a strong DAO consistently working on innovating and integrating with other protocols make OHM sticky. We have Meltem Demirors, a famous investor in the space, saying you can't ever really sell OHM. Obviously, that comes to do with the tokenomics. And the question arises, if the Ponzi-nomics are designed well enough, can it last long enough to not be a Ponzi anymore? That is sort of the question being put out there by some of these tokenomics projects. I know that, and OHM is a good example of this, but essentially if a project that is based upon rewarding people for holding effectively, right? If the project is essentially centered around rewarding holders and punishing sellers, and it's baked into the code, then is there a way that the system can be perfected long enough that it ceases to be a Ponzi, or is it just sort of an everlasting Ponzi? It's a philosophical question, really. But in the end, I want you guys to understand what makes OHM so sticky is the tokenomics. That's what makes OHM so attractive to its holders, is that it rewards people for holding longer and longer and longer so people don't sell. Of course, I want to put out a huge warning here that these things work well in a bull run. Everything works well in a bull run. All tokenomics perform during a bull run. Bear markets really pull back the veil here, and you'll see what does and doesn't have sustainability. Now, as we approach alt season, and this is a great pivot into our alt season segment right now, which is, these are two L1s you should probably be putting on your radar. I'm not saying to rush in and buy these. I'm just trying to outline for you a thought process as to why they are on my radar and why they are things that you could maybe be getting ahead of the herd on. Why did I look into AVAX so early? Why did I look into Phantom so early? I was understanding of the growth and development of TVL and excitement around those ecosystems and saw that they would hit a growth spurt soon. Same with potentially Cello, as well as Near Protocol. And why are we looking at these? Because effectively the TVL has soared, and we've been seeing massive TVL growth here. Cello now has surged to almost $1 billion, almost a 4x increase in less than 4 months. To put this in perspective, this puts Cello only a 2x away from reaching Arbitrum's TVL. And with a 5x, we could be at Polygon, Phantom, or Avalanche ranges. 5x is nothing in crypto. But again, the question is, are these TVL incentives just moving around to sort of get rewards that are being circulated through the ecosystem? The answer is most of the time. We also have Near, even smaller, but again, check out the TVL growth in just a few months, reaching about 100 million. So the money is moving. The money is moving here, and it is very much so something that you should be keeping your eye on. Now, why do I bring this up? Because we're about to enter into alt season. And as we enter into alt season, which, by the way, if you guys are excited to hear about my alt season breakdown now, please destroy that like button, smash it up. What do we have? We have 5,000 people in the room, only 2,000 very lonely lonely likes, lonely likes. And so, you know, hopefully we can get some more likes in there. That would make me happy, guys. Thank you. Okay, so what's going to happen here? And let's go back to this. This is the 3 phases to the bull run. We're going to get a massive increase in dominance, hopefully, for Bitcoin. And that is very healthy for the ecosystem, because it means that everyone's piling into the big ship moves further, and all that liquidity can eventually make its way into the other assets. So first Bitcoin, then altcoins, then NFTs. And altcoins is bigger because it goes first into Ethereum, then L1s and big caps, and then it'll make its way into DeFi and NFTs, probably in that order. But there will be seasons. There will be seasons where one category of coin or one narrative of coin will explode, and then another will explode, and then another will explode. And so it's always good that you kind of are really rapidly paying attention to every single movement of the market. Because if a project like a DeFi project explodes, an L2 DeFi project explodes with gains, then what you'll probably see is the corresponding projects that are similar start exploding with gains. And so learning to identify narratives and learning to see where those narratives are starting to dominate is very, very important. Just like we saw when Axie Infinity took off, when AXS took off, where is Axie? What we saw was this brought with it every single play to earn gain. And that's really important to see those relationships, because once you see when Axie starts really moving in Q4, we'll see all the play to earn gaming ecosystems start exploding as well. So what do I see as the real ones to identify here? Well, first of all, we're going to see massive retail FOMO and attention into the L1s. These are, in my opinion, as clear as day. Right? As Bitcoin goes up and starts to suck more and more liquidity, probably out of Binance Chain, out of Cardano, out of Solana, out of Polkadot, we can start seeing those L1s start to explode. Now, I want to be clear. Polkadot is about to have the first true native Polkadot crowd loans. This is going to be a massive fundamental moment here, where projects like Moonbeam, projects like the super early movers in the Polkadot crowd loans, those projects will be one of ones at the time. They'll be extremely distinguished. And Polkadot, as well as its early L1s, will probably start exploding, much like we've seen with Kusama's early projects like Moonriver. So Polkadot is a huge topic, where as Polkadot starts to get really wrecked here down to like the 20s, as Bitcoin moons, this would be a huge thing to have on your radar as a potential here. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about Avalanche. This sort of a return here to flip prior resistance into support. I believe Avalanche has some huge pumpage ahead of it. I'm very long Avalanche. I'm still holding all of my Avalanche, my AVAX, my Joe, my Time, my Yield Yak. I'm holding it all right now, because I believe that Avalanche is going to get absolutely sent at some point during this bull run. Then we start getting into the more esoteric L1s. But here's the thing. I do think at some point they all do pump, right? I think Algorand will have its day. I think, where is it? I think Tezos will have its day. I think Hashgraph will have its day. All of these things will make their way around. But the thing is, I'm actually just diversifying into the ones that I'm more interested in their development, like Phantom, like Avalanche. Because if they're all going to have their day, but one has way better fundamentals, then I'm going to go with the one with the better fundamentals, right? That's just my particular pick. So once we do this, and once we've made our way to this sort of L1 altcoins, then what's going to happen is their associated projects are going to pump next, right? And so if I'm looking at Cardano, and Cardano's just gone on a tear, then the projects under Cardano are the ones that I'm looking at next. The DEXs, right? The launch pads, the ones that are critical or hyped within that ecosystem, right? So once we get the main altcoins, we'll get the ecosystem altcoins. But then we're also going to get the narrative waves. Narrative waves are fundamentally driven because they're all driven on the promise of these industries, whether it is decentralized gaming, play to earn gaming, NFTs, DeFi, decentralized computing, bridge protocols. We'll see them all have their moment, right? And then as one explodes, and I think bridges, like I was saying, I made a deep episode about bridges. And what did we see after I made my deep episode about bridges? Not too long after that, let me show you this beautiful chart here. I made a bridge protocol episode, I think maybe a month and a half ago. And what have we seen out of AnySwap, which was one of the bridges I called out most notably during that episode, is we have here another almost 10x growth here. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful play here. And again, people seem to not get that this is purely coming from me immersing myself in the industry, understanding the issues with the industry, understanding the points of interest, and seeing where using my deductive reasoning to say, okay, well, what's probably going to be important soon? Well, everyone's jumping around different L1s now. So I'd imagine the highways or the checkpoints that take you to different L1s are going to be super important. What do we get? Massive pumpage out of bridges. So understanding building these theses, building a thesis around what will happen next will always get you the max gains. And then short of that, understanding what other people's theses are and sort of optimizing for them will give you the max gains. So that's really, really, really key here. Understanding that if you just go back into my content, look at the bridge protocols, those deep dives, look at the DeFi projects that I've covered, look at the different ways that I'm analyzing the industry, because it feels almost storybook right now, the way this is playing out. And I believe projects like AnySwap, projects that are in these L2 narratives, like you have the Spell and the sort of the stablecoin narratives like Spell and Magic Internet Money, all of that ecosystem, Popsicle Finance. Oh, I wanted to cover this. I jumped over this. Daniele, sorry. I interviewed today Daniele, who is the creator of Abracadabra Money, Spell, Popsicle Finance, and he's got a few new projects. Everything that this guy touches turns to DeFi gold, So everybody come together, go follow Daniele, go follow him, Daniele Sesta. And this is the key to next gen DeFi right now. He is the driver of innovation in DeFi. And based on what he told me, there's some really amazing things coming. So please go blow him up. This is a leading voice in the crypto industry, a very new sort of, entrant into this major league of builders. But everything he's doing is just leaving everyone in the dust, in my opinion. And so go follow him. It was from following him that I found out about Spell, Abracadabra Money, Wonderland, Time, Popsicle Finance, and he's not done. So check out his Occupy DeFi project. That's what's coming next. Make sure that you're joining and becoming a member of Frog Nation. And there are several really, really important things coming, I believe. Not France advice, not financial advice, but this is the guy. Make sure you go follow him. I'm incredibly, incredibly in awe of how smart and how innovative he has been over the last few months and what he has planned in the near future. So give Daniele a shout. Go follow him. So as we talk about these narratives, and as I can return now, understanding that what we'll see first is Bitcoin, and then it sets up all of these altcoins. First majors, then we get mid caps, then we get first we get majors, L1s, then we get their ecosystem projects, then we get narratives, right? And so narratives would be L2s, DeFi, stable coins, and different types of liquidity protocols. Then we get gaming. Then we get NFTs. They're all going to take their turn. Cloud computing, those types of decentralized web projects, they'll all take their turns. And understanding where the motion of the ocean is, being able to react fast, and you can easily hop on these moves, but be careful, because what we're going to see here after this is that most projects, I'm going to show you this, most projects, if it goes anything like the past, will have a parabolic blow off top. Let me see if I can find this project because it is the ultimate example of this. Gosh, Tron really just is dragon booty here. Dragon booty. But nothing is more exemplary of this, which is you have Tron here having this massive, massive spike. And this was here at the end of the bull run. What happened here was this. We had Bitcoin run and Bitcoin peaks right here. So you have Bitcoin peak right here, and then crashes. And then altcoins came down. What was this? It came down about 50%, this Tron, or 40% or whatever. So the market crashed a little bit. And then once people are like, oh, actually, no, this Bitcoin thing, this Bitcoin bull run, it's actually over. This is done its thing, and the big holders are selling. But they're actually going to pile into the altcoins for one last hurrah, and you're going to get something that looks like this. So what you want to be is well allocated before all this happens. Because look, if you're well allocated down here and you're not jumping around, you're just holding through this, You're waiting for that. Look, from here, Tron went from, you know, a quarter of a penny. Let's just say, just use a penny. It went from a penny to 30 cents. He actually doesn't show this, but it was actually as high as 30 cents for several hours. But even here, 23 cents, half a penny to 23 cents, just astronomical, right? 30, 50x within the space of days. When that happens, if you start seeing your altcoins go, you know, 10x overnight, 30, you know, you see a 10x, then the market holds, and then another 10x, take profits. Not financial advice. Just if you don't take profits at that time, when this is happening, you are making a potential completely massive, massive error. Now, of course, they might keep going. And so you can have a scaling solution here where you put, you know, 50% of your coins you take profits on. But if you don't hit the sell button after a 50x in the late stages of Q4 here on the altcoin season on many of your projects, then you will probably miss the chance to build that treasury for the inevitable collapse that happens after a parabolic blow off top. Now, would I love it if the cycles are lengthening here and we don't end up getting a parabolic collapse? We end up just getting these sort of ebb and flows and we keep growing. Amazing. We'll actually know that pretty soon because look at Bitcoin. What we saw from Bitcoin was really clear in 2018. Bitcoin said, bye, Felicia, to absolutely everybody pretty quickly, right? What we saw was that we saw Bitcoin come down here. This is the blow off top. We saw it get rejected. Then we saw it get rejected from every rally, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And then we saw here is where we saw all of the old holders. Where was it? The 16K rally. This rally, the 16K rally, was where we saw all of the OG holders, all of the big sort of long-term whales. We saw them all take profits here. And so when you see all of the old whales take profits, that is a really, really, or I think it was right here. This was right here. Yeah. It was right here. When we saw all of the OG money take profits and then another failed rally, and then we just see this death chart, that is a good example of Bitcoin saying, all right, time to go into hibernation and find new price support at a lower, a much higher bear market low. Now, whether that bear market lasts 3 months, 3 weeks, a year, it's very unclear. These are all, we're all in uncharted territory. And in theory, this could happen midway through 2022. But what I'm trying to say is, if you miss your chance to dunk on your late Q4 altcoin parabola, then you're probably playing the game wrong. Probably, can't guarantee it. Again, not France advice. Cool. So just to recap here, Bitcoin, then we get L1s, L1 ecosystem tokens, and then narrative-driven hype waves. Then what's going to happen is most likely, this is my prediction, is that NFTs start to moon afterwards. The reason why I say this is that we've seen continuously NFT projects start to pump after the bullishness of mainstream cryptos has ended. Take a little sip of my coffee. What we've seen is that as the hype from mainstream, these mainstream cryptos subsides, like we saw in May, like we saw in September of last year, what we see is that NFTs go absolutely crazy. So NFTs in many ways have started to become the sort of alternate season to mainstream crypto growth. And that's why as this is happening, you probably don't want to be holding too many NFTs because Ethereum's going to move and NFT prices in Ethereum are probably going to get decimated as people try to cash out of their NFTs and get into the liquid markets. So this is going to be a very, very strong FU to the NFTs, I think. We don't know. That's what I think. Then I think NFTs come roaring back, right? So if you were playing this precisely, you would go Bitcoin, then into altcoins, then into NFTs. You'd get all of them perfectly. You'd ride all the waves up. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to be able to do that. It's just way too hard. So here's what I propose. And here's what I'm going to propose to myself. I'll propose to you. You guys got to propose your own strategies, of course. But I say just stick for right now, try to amass Ethereum and L1s. Easy money, easy money. And then get some exposure to those important ecosystem projects below those L1s. That's going to allow you to get massive, massive gains. And then once you get those gains, you can either throw them into stable coins or NFTs and ride that final wave. That's, I think, the easiest way to approach this. So knowing that Bitcoin running will only trigger the biggest altcoin season, Don't worry about jumping between Bitcoin and altcoins. I'm just loading up on my alts. It's really simple. It's really simple because these will go way harder than Bitcoin. And then I'm going to grab myself some NFTs, hopefully ride that wave up, maybe take some profits if they start to get really toppy feeling and euphoric after this has all happened, because who knows how long NFTs can thrive in a bear. It's all new. I think they will thrive, especially if they're tied to gaming ecosystems, but that's new beans, that's new facts, and that's new history we have to explore together. Going through a few little super chats here that I missed. We need to show Lightning Protocol, cross-chain incubator. Oh, not Lightning Network, not Lightning Network. Cool. All right. Well, that's about it for me. I have a really important call in a couple of minutes, or else I would stick around and hang out with you guys some more. I'm absolutely loving these live streams. Let me know if you guys are learning a lot from these and if you enjoy the pace of them, the conversational nature. I really, really enjoy getting to chat with you guys open for so long. Let me know what guests you want to see on the channel. Let me know what kind of segments. I'm going to be literally pumping out as much content as I can over the next few months, helping steer you, hopefully, with my opinions and strategies to safer pastures in this industry, because I believe Q4 is the moment where dreams are made. It's the moment where people have been dreaming of for years and years. It's the storybook gains. And in my opinion, it's right around the corner. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did get some value, please smash that like button. Remember to follow me on Twitter at EllioTrades. The link is in the description. And I thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you very soon on the next episode. Goodbye.